So the next question is, how did your own childhood experience influence you becoming a parent, becoming a mom of your two daughters?
Yeah, it's always been something that I knew I wanted. I knew it hopefully was going to be part of my life. I actually got married and had kids later in life, my late 30s. So it didn't happen for a while, but when I was little and I would imagine my future, I always imagined myself as a grandma around a table with all of my family, being the old lady at the end with having this big family. So I always knew that kids were in my future. And my parents, they had myself and two others, so we were a family of three. And family was always really extremely important. We always got together at every holiday with my grandparents and my aunts and uncles. So, family was always really, really important. My mother, who is from England, she's English, she brought us up pretty, I would say, strict. She was very protective, strict. We had exquisite manners as little kids, always saying please and thank yous. It was very important to her. She's superstitious, so I know all the superstitions. And all of that comes out as I raise my kids as well, which is really important for the pleases and thank yous. I mean, they're little rugrats now, but hopefully someday it'll click for them with all of the manners and being polite and respecting others. That's something that we always put first and foremost, which I believe I learned from my mom and my family.
I think that's, thank you for that answer. I really think that's important, especially nowadays, because um, your ethical upbringing is learned at home. You don't go to school to say please and thank you, even though that's something important and it's nice. But you go to school to read and math and so at home to be able to do that, your kids are going to get appreciated. I think. When they do, get something and they say thank you. And I see it all the time when I serve them, snacks and
Yes,
and I give them homework or I give them a folder or a fun activity. They're always saying please and thank you.
The little one goes, thank you.
Well, you saw that video when she sneezed. I said bless you, and she said thank you. So it is working, and I think it's amazing. I think we would be more happier and more at peace in the world if we followed a little bit of that, just being more gentle and caring when it comes to respect and things like that.
Yeah, I actually think it's twofold, if I may. It's one, you want to learn respect and manners to show others that kindness and to make everybody feel better about themselves and be respectful. And then it's a skill also, is that is how you get somewhere in life as well. You don't get anywhere in life unless you give, and giving that respect is getting that respect back. And so if you want to move forward, if you want have big dreams to achieve, and if you want to gain that respect back, you have to give it first. And so that's really what I want my kids, for my kids as well, is to give and receive.
That's absolutely wonderful. I love it. Thank you. So my next question. So as you know, when at Tender Loving we have the play base, which is the Reggio Emilia, that's from Italy, and I think that's so important for children because as they're playing, if you put in things for kids, expose them to playing dramatic play. They're learning how to be empathetic and to be able to someday be a mom and hold a baby and be able to feed her and give her things and nurture this child. And so if you instill that as 2 and 3 year olds, they're going to be like you and I, moms that are happy, that are with our children and spend quality time. So having said that, I also think that nowadays academics is really important because they're not going to go to kindergarten and just play all day. They got to sit down at a table and do work and focus and be able to write and pay attention. So in Tender Loving, as you know, and I would like a little bit of your feedback. What do you, as a working mom, how do you reinforce what we do at Tender Loving, and what they've learned here on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, at each celebration that we do, when we do a holiday or special events.
Yeah, I love your philosophy and your approach to teaching and having the kids learn. There's so much empathy that I think goes into this methodology as well. And you're right; it's about getting kids out of their head, pretending that they're to be something else, making them understand what it's like to be whatever they're playing with or the people that they're playing with. So I think that's great. First and foremost, we do whatever you tell us to do, Miss O. If you tell us to bring our flashcards home and we're going to do that. If you tell us to do anything, so we know the importance of in school and at home teaching and making sure that you're doubling up almost on all of these things, and that the message that you're getting at school is delivered at home as well, and vice versa. So that's really what we believe in. We stand by that. Is there something specific that you want me to call out with?
Well, when you reinforce it at home, like you said, you get flashcards. Like, do you do it like, in the morning, at night, on the weekend, when time allows?
Yeah, I mean, this just works for us because we're full-time working parents. The time of when they get home to like dinner time, I know as they grow up that is like homework time, right? That's not going away for a few years now. So we try to not do playtime too fast when they get home. They sit down, they have a quick snack, and usually we have like an island, and that's where we do flash time. So they're eating their snack, I sit in front of them, and we do our alphabet, and we're doing some colors with Paige right now, who's really bad at it. Everything's blue, but I guess Reese was that way as well.
But you know what? All the kids do that, and you know why they do that? They do that because that's their favorite color.
Yeah.
And they're stuck on that color because that's what they like.
Yeah.
And they want to let you know that that's what they like. And you just give it time. And before you know it, she's going to get there.
Yep, they do. But I think it's important. Repetition's important. Like there's some just basic learning, like you have to memorize. And those are the things I think do great when you do it at home and you do it at school. And then there's just, backing each other's approaches back. Like, for example, when you came to us with Reese and you're like, okay, she is not listening when we want her to do arts and crafts. That is something that we weren't just going to let go. We had to make sure that she knew that we knew that we knew about this, and it was not okay. And we talked about it for a few days afterwards. And I don't know if it worked. You can tell me. But it's really important. If there's an issue going on at school, we talk about it and solve it at home. And they don't think that the worlds are separate. It's their life, and we're all involved in all of it. And we can see you, and we know what's going on. And hopefully the behavior corrects itself, and we do that for also the positive behaviors as well.
That's great. I love that you're in sync with what goes on here, because that's going to happen down the line. If what happens at school and home,
right.
And it's not that like you did a bad thing, because it's not. That's their personality, and that's something that maybe she didn't feel like doing it, but she needs to know that even if we don't like a certain thing or we don't want to do a certain thing, it's got to get done. Like, there's some days maybe you don't want to get up and go to work, but you know what? That's the responsible thing to do.
And
that's
goes back to respect too. For us. Respect is very important.
Yes. So, all those little things, and I like that. That even though we don't sometimes want to, but we must.
Yes.
Yes, that's excellent.
That's life, kid.
Yeah.
Get used to it.
Okay. So then, let me see. So my next kind of question, March 2nd is DrSeuss Day.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm a real, a lot of my theme is DrSeuss. It's been for the last 10 years or so. I don't know if you were aware of the controversy that we had last year with DrSeuss.
Getting political on me, Miss Ellen.
No, this is why I bring it up, because I was very heartbroken last year, because I have my setup with a lot of themes, and the main thing that I back up the theme of Dr. Seuss is reading.
Yeah.
That's like my main theme. I don't want to get political because that's something that has children don't know. And he's an animated little cat that has messages, and so that's where I wanted to bring in. That was my idea behind Dr. Seuss is just let me just come show you the couple of things that I always tell the kids. And it's, let me see here. So, one of the messages that I bring up to them is like, today is your day. This is what he says. That is truer than true. There is no one alive who is youer than you. So, that you're special, you're unique. And so, that's the message, that no one is like you and you're special and you need to pull everything that you have to show everybody, and to make you feel that, that you're unique. And so that's where that comes into play. The other message that I always bring to the kids is you have brains on your head, you have feet on your shoes, you have you can steer yourself in any direction you choose. So basically, as a person, you can go anywhere you want, as a child and as a human. And so those are the kinds of things that we kind of talk about when we deal with Dr. Seuss. And the last one that I really like is called The More That You Read, the more things you will know. And the more that you learn, the more places you will go. So if you read to your kids and they like reading, they're going to use their imagination, they're going to be creative, they're going to build their vocabulary. I mean, all those things. And so that's why I celebrate Dr. Seuss because, because of reading. And, I know that, reading pretty much to me is, there's life lessons, there's social emotional, it expands their vocabulary, their attention span. When they go to big boy and girl school, I tell them they are able to sit. And sometimes some of them it takes a little bit of time when they get into kindergarten, and some new teachers don't like those fidgety toys, but some of us may need them. Look at me, I'm always tugging with my hands. So things like that. The bonding that at home maybe that you can have, listening skills, creativity. So those are all important. That I think is that why the message behind reading. And so what's your opinion about that?
I mean, you can't argue with all of that. Those are amazing lessons. I didn't know that he, has quotes for all of those. I couldn't agree more with all of them. So, that you can't argue with that. There is going to be a negative side almost every time with every way that you approach teaching, and focusing on the positives and things like that, and bringing that to light with the kids. That's how you raise and have people grow up. So I love it. Reading in particular is super important to me and my household as well. I do believe it's kind of your meal ticket, for success in life and for happiness. And it's all about being happy and healthy in my household. That's all I want ever for my kids. So I love it. You're right. It is a super nice bonding moment. We personally read every night before, after bath and before bed. We all get in mommy and daddy's bed, and everybody gets to choose their new book, or their old book, depending on, how obsessed we are with what's going on. And we sit down and we take turns, and the kids throw a book, and, they know to wait their turn, and then they take turns reading their books. And so I agree. It's super important. I love Dr. Seuss personally. It's sad that some things go through their moments, but I really like all those lessons.
And just a little bit to piggyback on what you said, it doesn't have to be a new book. It could be the same book. And
I've read it so many times.
It could be the same book. It could be, like there's other ideas like you don't have to have a huge library of books. You can borrow books from the library or from friends, and that's something that it doesn't have to be, a different book every day. even though I love to purchase different books for the kids, and I get super excited. I have no room now, and they're starting to build up in storage and other places. But I think that reading is important. And I took a class about children's literature, and there was that controversy going on, and not to say there's nothing wrong, and I know that he apologized of what happened many years ago, and so I think that we need to give it a chance, and because of the reading part, that's my main focus. People make mistakes, and it's been 40, 60 years, but right now with my kids, I want to be happy and cheerful and not be heartbroken that a lot of teachers had to remove a lot of their reading from classrooms and things like that. I'm lucky because I'm able to continue on, but I wanted to bring out that so that parents are aware of why my reasoning behind it.
I love it. And just one more thing, when you said about new books versus old books, my kids, Paige, the youngest, is almost 2, and then Reese is 3.5. I actually find it better when you repeat the book, even though it's boring for parents to read the book over and over again. But they don't get it right away. They don't understand. And the more you read it and the more they're able to ask why, they connect more and more dots. And it takes them like 10 times to really understand a story anyway. So new books are great and fun because new pictures, who doesn't like that? But if you truly want them at this age, I'm finding for the story to resonate and to seep in and for them to learn what the story was about, it takes a few times.
Yeah. And I think also, like, when you read a story to a child, maybe you don't even have to read the words because they're not at that point yet. Maybe you want to ask them questions and stop in the middle of the book and say, oh, what did you think, or what do you think is going to happen next, and use little voices and just make it very animated and things like that, so that it's enjoyable for the kids to be able to read.
Yeah. Love it.
Okay, thank you. So we're almost at the end of our questions, and I think just one thing about reading, which I cannot reinforce it and emphasize more, like ask, maybe 1 or 2 open-ended questions. It's not a right or wrong answer. It's like imagination and going more deeper into the book or the story versus being superficial. Oh, look, the house is what color? Like, we're already doing colors and numbers and things like that. So the color of the house, yeah, that's great, but that's like a yes or no kind of question versus like, oh, like what's going to happen next, do you think?
Comprehension.
Yes, and they use your imagination and like, oh, how exciting. And you're building up that vocabulary because you're having them read and you're having them answer the question, and then that way they're like doing a conversation with you and able to understand the story better. So
I love it.
Yeah,
something I do with Reese sometimes, because that's awesome. I also ask her to read the story. Obviously she can't read it, but she'll sit there, flip the pages, and remember what I told her, and then I can kind of gauge how much she's been listening and comprehending, and you'd be surprised, she almost tells me the exact story back. So that's another way to kind of test their comprehension.
Oh yes, absolutely. I think that's another method that's great, to be able to have them read to you, because just I think consistency with reading, taking the time, making the time for the kids, I think it's great. The connections that you make with the kids, with your children. And same thing at, when we do circle time every day. And if we bring puppets sometimes, or we do like the magic bag, and I have them, they're props from the story sometimes, and then they can't look, and so I have them put their hand in and kind of guess what it is, and that's building their vocabulary and their imagination. And then they just sometimes, even with just a little touch, like, oh, I know what it is. And so I was like, oh my gosh, these kids are so smart. But yeah, so I want to thank you for spending this time with me. I think it's a great opportunity to be able to have insight from a parent in childcare, in family childcare, with preschool, emphasis, with Reggio Emilia, with academics. Even though, I heard at one point I had a colleague, kind of say, oh, we need to just, do Reggio Emilia, which is play based and they play all day. And I was like, I think that's great. I love it. But I think nowadays when the kids go to school, what do they need to do? So we got to bring, I think, a balance. And I think as a parent, I think you what do you think? You agree?
Balance is everything. Moderation, balance is everything.
Yes. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.